some young broke dude.
Stop and smell the roses. I was driving home from work on a very windy day. It was so windy, if you were not prepared for the gusts, your car would be pushed around. It was around 6:30 in the evening, and I was a few blocks from home, turning down a street with a school zone, when this driver comes out of nowhere and starts honking the horn at me to go faster while riding my tail. They did this for a block until I put on my turn signal. I stopped, then turned, only to find they are still following my honking their horn once again. So I slow way down from like 25, still in the school zone, to 5, and drove another block around 5 miles per hour as others pass us, making them unable to pass me. A light comes up and I hatch my plan. The light was a turn right on red light, so I judged it at the right time when people were turning and gunned it to make the turn. A few seconds later, cars were coming the other way in the same lane I was turning in. The guy behind me had to stop abruptly as to avoid an accident. He kept honking his horn until I couldn't hear it anymore. Drivers need to learn how to manage their time. Even if they need to be somewhere in a hurry, learn quicker routes and actually think. But that's just me.
A math teacher revenge on me. I did deserve it. Okay, background. I was not only a bad student, but I was a terrible jokester. So MT will be math teacher. So from day one in this pre-ALG class, after the math teacher wrote her name on the board and I noticed that her initials were the same as one of the oldest hate groups in the USA, that I would make her hate this period. I did all kinds of shitty things like stealing all her pens and sticking them into the ceiling and calling her Ms. Klansman. So one time I stole her teacher's Addison pre-ALG book and hid it in my friend's locker, knowing that she would accuse me of stealing it. And she did, so the school security searched me, my bag, and my locker. Of course she knew that I took it, but she had no proof, so nothing came of it. Till it's been over a decade and a half now. I'm trying to get into a type of union program and they need a sealed copy of my high school transcripts. So I go and order them from my old school district. It only costs $2 and they tell me that it will take a week to get them put together. Math teacher gets her revenge. I get a call from the district office and they say that I can't get my transcripts until I go to my old high school and pay $90 for a pre-ALG teacher's Addison that was credited to my account over 16 years ago. Up until that point, I had completely forgotten about that. And all I can say is, well played, Ms.
A quick and simple way I deal with my neighbors who don't clean up after their dogs. I live in a condo complex with lots of dog owners. The condos surround a central grassy area with a concrete walkway running through it, and all of our porches face it. Due to the privacy factor, most or all of everyone's shades are closed, so you can't really see outside. Some of the dog walkers like to exploit this by not cleaning up their dog's mess. For some reason, I began to see a lot of their turds collecting in the grass along the walkway in the vicinity of my condo. So I started walking that way every day in my work boots. If I saw dog turds in the grass around my porch, I kicked them out onto the walkways. There would be a good half dozen turds in the walkway after that. I made a small sign, any dog turds found in the grass here will be moved to the walkway. Curb your dog. It took a couple weeks and a couple signs being kicked down, but it worked like a charm.
Then she never took the lift for one floor again. I work in a building that has 11 floors. This building is part of a university school of chemistry, and as such, the floors have teaching labs as well as research labs. The building has a common area to eat and study on level 3, and the teaching labs are on levels 2, 4, and 5. It's a common theme for undergraduates to take the lift for one floor despite being told not to unless they are incapable of walking upstairs. We have a goods elevator to transport chemicals and equipment and 2 standard elevators for people. Currently we only have 1 standard elevator working. As such, it's being used for everything and you usually wait about 2 to 3 minutes each time you need to use it. Here comes the petty revenge. I'm going from level 1 to level 9. I get into the elevator with another person who's going to level 4, teaching area. She gets out and another person, undergraduate or UG, gets in, not realizing the elevator is going up, as she's staring at her phone and hits the level 3 button. As far as I'm aware, she is fully capable of walking up and down stairs. Me. So you know it's just 1 flight to go from 4 to 3, can't you walk it? UG. Yeah, but I'm texting someone. Me. You know we have 1 elevator working and someone going literally a floor or 2 really inconveniences lots of people, yeah? UG. It adds like 12 seconds, who cares? Me. Okay. Well, as I get out at level 9, she has to go all the way down to 3 again. I swipe my access card, which works for every floor, and hit every single button from 8 to 3. Me. Enjoy your trip. Am I an asshole? Yes. Did I likely inconvenience others, making my lesson hypocritical? Yes. Did I feel good and laugh, and continue to laugh about it? Yes. Edit. I know people can have non-visible disabilities. Original post had some bad wording on my part. Edit 2. I love how despite calling myself an asshole and a hypocrite in the post, people feel the need to reaffirm this.
Don't cancel Halloween on me, please. I used to work customer service at this large electronics chain store. The customer service area was its own room, mostly separate from the rest of the store, so we would always go all out decorating it for holidays. Santa's cottage around Christmas, tons of flags around the 4th of July, and around Halloween, a haunted house. Family friendly, of course. Cute cartoon skellies and ghosts, spider webs, and this big inflatable black cat on a pumpkin. My customer service manager decides randomly one year he hates Halloween and we aren't decorating this year. This wasn't a corporate decision either. All the other stores in our district were still decorating. We usually have a friendly competition with one another over who has the best decorations. I ask if we can at least put the cat up in the corner because it's cute and a fun distraction for kids waiting for their parents to finish at the desk. Nope. Halloween is stupid, we're not putting anything up. I had already given my 2 weeks notice at this point, not because of the no decorations thing. I'd found a better paying position elsewhere. It was my last day, which happened to be the day before Halloween, and I thought, fuck it. I went to the warehouse guys and said to them, get me the cat. They're confused and ask if the manager finally gave in. I tell them no, it's going in his office. They were more than happy to rifle through the decoration boxes with me to find it. Now let me give you a visual of the office. It used to be a supply closet. It was barely wider than the door and about as deep. Think about the size of your average bathroom stall. He had a shelf installed as a desk against the backside and moved his computer and tiny filing cabinet in it as soon as he realized there was an outlet in the wall. The rest of the managers used a general office area that he was apparently too good for. So anyways, I took the currently deflated cat, put it in the center of this tiny office, plugged it into the outlet on the back wall, and just stepped back as the fan whirred to life. When fully inflated, this cat took up the entire office. It bulged out a little. I shut the door. When my manager eventually wandered over to it, the look on his face when he opened the door was priceless. His jaw literally dropped. He was speechless. I was a little afraid he'd just take a box cutter to it, but nope. He actually fought his way around it to unplug it from the wall. My manager was not a small guy either, so seeing him squeeze into this already small space now crowded by a huge obnoxious lawn ornament was comedy. Everyone that was present but him had a nice little laugh. Best part? I was usually one of the good employees, so he didn't even believe me when I straight up told him it was me.
Rude teen taken for a ride. So I was only a witness to these happenings, but it really made my day. To set the scene, I was a passenger on a bus, a fairly small single-decker, and I was sat quite near the front. This was in my home city in the UK a few years back, and the bus drivers were very varied in character in the amount of shit they were willing to take. I've had drivers not even glance at me as I got on, and others who have inspected my past so thoroughly, I thought they were trying to memorize it. Some are friendly and make you feel welcome. Others put out a vibe of, how dare you enter this bus, you fucker. Anyway, on this day, the journey was progressing as normal. Nice, friendly driver. The bus stopped, people got on and off. Then, just before the bus pulled away, one teenager from a passing group got in and asked the driver how much for a ticket to London. This was a bullshit question as the bus was local and only went from one end of the city to the other. At first, the driver cracked a grin and told him the bus didn't go to London, but the teen kept asking again and again, glancing out to his band of idiot friends. How much for a ride to London? Yeah, but how long to get to London, mate? Look, all I want is to get to London. Passengers began getting annoyed as this went on, but to my delight, the driver eventually lost patience, closed the bus door, and just drove off. Suddenly, the teenager lost all his swagger and looked gobsmacked that he was being driven away from his friends. There followed a very awkward silence as the journey continued. Having been tensing up, passengers around me visibly relaxed. Score 1 for the grown-ups. The embarrassed teen never looked towards us, he just rode it out in silence. The driver only took him one stop, at which the doors opened and the guy got off without a word. I reckon he had at least a 5-minute walk to rejoin his friends. Nobody cheered, but I think we were all cheering inside.
Parking lot revenge. Several years ago, I lived in a gated apartment complex. I don't know what the builders were thinking when they made the parking lot, but it was a disaster. Each apartment got one reserved covered parking spot, and then there were a few, very few free spots. One early October morning, I got home super late from my job at a haunted house, like 4 a.m. or something. I couldn't find a parking spot anywhere. I drove around and around and around. I did 3 laps of the entire complex looking for a free spot. There were none. No free spots. But some asshole was taking up 2 spots. Some other poor soul had squeezed in between him and the wall. They weren't even in a parking spot, just the empty space between the wall and the other car. It was a small car, but a tight fit. I considered parking somewhere else and walking home, but I didn't want my car towed or stolen, and I'd have to climb the wall. I was too tired to climb the wall, so I did what I had to do. I rolled down both my windows so I could see the sides of my car more clearly, and I inched my way into the half parking spot that was not taken. It took a lot of back and forth getting the angle right so I didn't scratch either car. I didn't care about my paint job. I didn't even have one. I was driving a crappy old car. Kimi, I don't give a fuck. It took me probably 45 minutes, but I was pretty pissed off and determined. This guy always did this and I was sick of it. Finally, I got the car in park. It was sandwiched so tightly between the two cars that I couldn't even put my hand between my side mirror and their door. It was close enough that my arm wouldn't fit between the cars, let alone my body. I popped the trunk, folded down the seats, and Spider-Man crawled out of the back of my car. I took a moment to admire my handiwork. It was beautiful. I was closer to being in the parking spot than he was. I just looked like I was bad at parking. He looked like he parked illegally, so if one of us was gonna get towed, it would be him. I felt bad for the guy on my left as I was blocking his passenger side and he'd have to pull out of the spot before someone could get in. The asshole, though, had his driver's side blocked. He'd either have to climb in through the trunk or climb over from the passenger side. Served him right, too. Don't take 2 spaces when parking's limited. Now, perhaps the pettiest part of this is that I didn't have work the next day, or the day after that, or the day after that. I worked nights from Thursday to Sunday and I slept all day. I'd already done my grocery shopping the day before and I didn't have anywhere to be for 3 whole days. That car was stuck there all 3 days. I checked every day. It hadn't moved. All the other cars moved, but I had that fucker trapped. Moral of the story? Don't park like an ass. People without paint jobs have nothing to lose by blocking you in.
Enjoy my seat and some petty revenge. TLDR, guy takes my chair, complains about the servers ignoring him afterwards, then watches us do his favorite shot and laugh at his expense. Visiting a city, and after a day full of local breweries, I decide I should definitely see the local strip club for research. My style is to just sit at the bar, watch sports, and kind of enjoy the environment. I'm not one to drool on the stage or pull lap dances as though the girls actually like me. So I was quite enjoying the people around me and having good conversations with the 2 bartenders, both really nice women. I step out for a quick smoke in the smoking area, leave my jacket on the chair and my drink covered. Pretty much the standard "this seat is taken" move. But when I come back 4 minutes later, a guy is now sitting in my seat. I tell him that was my seat, as does his buddy next to him and the bartender as well. I don't care, I'm sitting here now. So the guy's much bigger than I am and has a couple friends with him. And I'm not one to start a bar fight over a chair anyways. I just stand in the space next to where I was and laugh at the dickhead while the bartenders who roll their eyes at the macho dickhead being a tough guy. So then the fun part happens just a couple minutes later. The guy turns to me and complains that the bartenders gave him a dirty look and have been ignoring him. No shit, I wonder why that is. Perhaps because you intentionally acted like an asshole to a friendly customer they quite enjoyed having there. Cool move by the bartenders, and now I see my chance to reward them and spite him a bit. As he's playing the victim and complaining to me, I give him the sarcastic "poor you" agreement and ask him what his favorite shot is. Some mixture of Crown Royal and schnapps. So I ask the bartender for 3 shots as though I'm buying a shot for him, his buddy, and me. Bartender brings them, puts them in front of me, and the guy's eyes light up a bit as if he would get rewarded for being an asshole. Oh, these aren't for you, these are for me and the bartenders. They're good people. Did his favorite shot in front of him with the bartenders and we all laugh while he pouts and plays the victim even more. He ended up leaving just a few minutes later and I hop back in my same seat.
United Airlines. I hate flying United. I've never had a good experience with them. I had a flight booked yesterday with multiple connecting flights. The only reason I went with United was because of my flight voucher from my last shitty experience with them. My originating flight yesterday was delayed 3 hours due to weather. American Airlines was making the same flight and arrived on time with no problems. Due to this delay, I wouldn't be able to make any of my connecting flights. They scheduled me a new flight today. I arrived at the airport this morning only to find out that again my flight has been delayed due to weather. Again, American making the same flight with no problem, and I would be missing my connecting flights. I was told that the next available flight would be Thursday afternoon. This would not work as this was a vacation I had planned to see a good friend of mine who lives on the other side of the country, and my return was scheduled for Saturday. When asked if I could have a refund for my voucher, I was told they wouldn't issue me one at the time since I wasn't a United Premier member. I had to sit on hold with customer service for an hour before they would finally refund the voucher. I'm now in the process of invoicing them for every expense that I can think of, from wages for 1 week of not working to gas and food expenses traveling to and from the airport. If they don't compensate me, I'll just file a consumer complaint with the FAA. Too long, don't read. United Airlines fucking me over as always. I'm invoicing them for every problem they've caused this week.
Petty waitress, A couple of years ago, I was waitressing and had a terrible group of about 8 to 9 people. They were ordering drink after drink, and I was delivering quickly. The men kept calling me hun, sweetie, toots, and any other creepy thing they could. One complained their steak was too salty, after he finished it, of course, and demanded to have it taken off his bill. Fine, got my manager to take it off. They finally left an hour after we closed. The bill was $250, and under tip they wrote, "Get a real job." Yeah, so $0 tip on $250. I still had to tip out of my sales, so I basically paid money to be treated like crap and serve horrible people for over 2 hours. Anyway, the guy who paid left his card in the checkbook. Instead of turning it in, I put it in my apron. I brought it home and put it in timeout at the corner of my room saying, "Shame, shame," every time I passed it. I never used it. Eventually, I cut the card and threw it out. Made me happy this guy was put at an inconvenience to have to order and hopefully wait a while for a new card.